Valentine's Day. For couples, it's supposed to be a day of joy, a bubble of happiness insulated from the harsh realities of the world. But what happens when that bubble bursts in the most horrific way imaginable? What happens when the day of love becomes the day of death? Today, we are exploring some of the most tragic Valentine's Day deaths ever recorded involving couples. From freak accidents and criminal negligence to shocking acts of violence and chilling unsolved mysteries, these cases are a grim reminder that tragedy doesn't check the calendar. Let's get into it. Case 1. The Silent Killer in the Suite. Our first case takes us to Kingman, Arizona in 2004, and it's a terrifying example of a silent, invisible killer. 21-year-old Sharmalee Ann Johnson and her 23-year-old boyfriend, Frederick Lewis Hertzer, were looking forward to a romantic Valentine's weekend. They checked into a motel suite on Andy Devine Avenue on Friday, ready to celebrate. But their celebration was cut short. The next morning on Valentine's Day, a horrifying discovery was made. Sharmalee was found dead in the bathtub. Frederick was found unconscious on the living room couch, barely clinging to life. There were no signs of a struggle, no violence. The culprit was something they never saw, heard, or smelled. An autopsy later confirmed the cause of death: carbon monoxide poisoning. Investigators traced the source to a leak in the exhaust system of the boiler room, located directly below the couple's suite. The odorless, colorless gas had seeped into their room all night, slowly poisoning them as they slept. A neighboring room also had to be evacuated, but thankfully, no one else was harmed. Frederick was rushed to the hospital and then flown to a neurological institute in Phoenix in critical condition. He survived, but woke up to the devastating news that the woman he had planned to spend a romantic weekend with was gone forever. A weekend of love, destroyed by a faulty boiler and a building's fatal secret. It was a tragedy born not of malice, but of simple, deadly negligence. Case 2. Love, Loss, and a Final Walk. From a silent killer to a sudden, violent impact, this next story, from Covina, California in 2025, is about a love that blossomed from shared tragedy, only to be shattered on Valentine's Day. 65-year-old Richard Berger and his girlfriend, Carmen Gonzalez, had been together for 8 years. Their relationship was special. They had found each other after both experiencing unimaginable loss. Richard had lost his wife and daughter, and Carmen had lost her own daughter in a car accident. They understood each other's pain and had built a new life together. On the evening of February 14th, they were doing what they often did, taking a romantic stroll through Richard's neighborhood, hand in hand. It was around 7:30 p.m. They were happy, enjoying the quiet evening. Carmen later told reporters, "I didn't see any lights, I didn't hear any noise that would alert that there's a car behind me, and the next thing I know is that his voice stopped." A car had struck them from behind. The impact pushed Richard into the curb, causing a severe head injury. Carmen was knocked unconscious. When she came to, she saw the love of her life lying on the ground. The driver, to their credit, did stop and stay at the scene. But it was too late for Richard. He was transported to the hospital and pronounced dead. Just a month before he was due to become a grandfather, Richard was killed. Carmen, who had already endured so much loss, was now left to grieve the man who had helped her heal. "He was holding my hand, and on Valentine's Day being happy of our relationship," she said. "I'm heartbroken. This person I loved so much. He was my partner, and we had a lot of goals for our future." Their story, a testament to finding love after loss, had its final tragic chapter written on the cruelest of days. Case 3. The Final Instagram Post. This next case is a gut punch of tragic irony. It involves a young, newly married couple, a head-on collision, and a social media post that will forever be frozen in time. On Valentine's Day, 2016, 21-year-old Daniel Amos and his 20-year-old wife, Kayla, had double the reason to celebrate. It was not only Valentine's Day, but also their 6-month wedding anniversary. That morning, Kayla took to Instagram to share her joy. She posted a happy photo of her and Daniel, writing, "Celebrating Valentine's Day and a half-year anniversary today with my husband. Totally unintentional, but I'm so excited to always be able to celebrate our love and our marriage on this day for the rest of our lives." That tragically turned out to be only a few more hours. Later that day, while driving in Edgewater, Maryland, an oncoming car crossed the center line and slammed into their vehicle head-on. Their car was then hit from behind by a third vehicle. Daniel was pronounced dead at the scene. Kayla was rushed to a trauma center in Baltimore, but she too succumbed to her injuries. The couple, who had met in high school, were deeply involved in their church community. Dan led the youth ministry band, and Kayla worked at the church coffee shop. A friend, Andrew Stahl, told reporters that God was #1 on their list before marriage, before each other. That's why their marriage flourished. They were a vibrant, beloved couple with their whole future ahead of them. Their love story and Kayla's joyful, hopeful words are now a heartbreaking digital epitaph, a permanent and public reminder of a promise that was brutally broken on the very day they celebrated it. Case 4. A teenager's deadly joyride. From a tragic accident to a case of pure criminal recklessness. On Valentine's Day, 2025, in Pembroke Pines, Florida, an elderly couple's life together was ended by a teenager's selfish need for speed. Patricia Fajardo de Cardona and her husband, Hugo Cardona Valencia, were in their Ford Fusion, attempting to make a left turn on Dykes Road around 6:30 p.m. Coming towards them was 17-year-old Albert Oswaldo Yanez Quintana in his new Dodge Charger. He wasn't just driving. He was, in the words of police, showing his friends how fast his new car was. With 3 friends in the car, he was tearing down the road at 70 to 80 miles per hour in a 45-mile-per-hour zone. He T-boned the couple's Ford Fusion with such force that the impact split the sedan in two. Patricia was ejected from the car and died at the scene. Her husband, Hugo, fought for his life, but passed away a little over a week later. The teenager's joyride had become a double homicide. One of the teen's own friends in the car later told investigators that the driver does not know how to drive and should be locked up. Police analysis confirmed the tragedy was entirely preventable. They determined that if Yanez Quintana had been driving the speed limit, the elderly couple would have had nearly 3 more seconds to clear the intersection. The crash, they concluded, would not have occurred. Despite being charged with 2 counts of vehicular homicide and reckless driving, the 17-year-old was arrested nearly 3 months after the crash and then bonded out of jail just 3 days later. For the Cardona family, Valentine's Day will forever be the day their loved ones were stolen from them by a teenager's lethal arrogance. Case 5. The Paris Themid Massacre. Now we descend into the darkness of domestic violence, where a husband's desperate attempt at a romantic gesture turned into a horrific bloodbath. In Jeffersonville, Indiana, on Valentine's Day 2025, 34-year-old Taylor Meyer was trying to save his marriage. He suspected his wife, 36-year-old Deborah, was having an affair and planned an elaborate Paris-themed evening to win her back. He bought her a dress, ordered dinner, and even had their 3 young children draw pictures of the Eiffel Tower for a Bringing Paris to You theme. They danced to their wedding song. But according to Taylor's later confession to police, Deborah seemed unimpressed. "It was the hardest I've ever tried," he lamented. "She just didn't give a." When Deborah briefly left the house, Taylor's suspicion turned to rage. When she returned, he confronted her, trying to wrestle her phone away. During the struggle, Deborah prophetically asked, "What are you going to do, kill me? You're going to hurt me and leave our kids with no parents?" That is exactly what he did. After getting the phone, he beat her over the head with a wine bottle until she was unconscious. Then, he went to the kitchen, found what he described as a big A kitchen knife, a long one, and stabbed his wife 40 times. All while their 3 children, all under the age of 5, slept upstairs. His depravity didn't end there. He took a photo of Deborah's mangled body and sent it to the man he suspected was her lover, with the chilling text, "Your fault." He then called friends and family and confessed to killing his wife. A day that began with a desperate romantic fantasy ended in a real-life nightmare, leaving 3 small children without a mother, and a father who became a monster. Case 6. The Mystery of Wylam. We end with the most unsettling case of all, a cold, calculated double murder that remains unsolved to this day. On Valentine's Day, 2024, Angelia Webster, who was pregnant, and her boyfriend, Kristen Norris, left to go on a date in Birmingham, Alabama. They never came back. 2 days later, their bodies were discovered inside their own car, which had been abandoned in the Wylam neighborhood. Both had been shot to death. The family believes they were kidnapped before the murders, turning their Valentine's date into a terrifying ordeal that ended in their execution. 1 year later, there are still no answers. Police have investigated leads and even brought in people for questioning, but they've had to release them due to a lack of evidence. No arrests have been made. The case has gone cold, leaving 2 families in a state of perpetual agony. Kristen's cousin, Sharita Wilson Clark, voiced the family's chilling theory to the media. "We believe that this person has committed many murders, so this wasn't the first one," she said. "They had to know how to dump people's bodies. This person, they had to have known how to do this before." The idea that a potential serial killer is still at large adds a layer of public fear to the private grief. For the families of Angelia and Kristen, and their unborn child, Valentine's Day is no longer a day of love. It is the anniversary of a disappearance, a murder, and a justice that has yet to be served. It is a black hole of unanswered questions, a story without an ending, and a killer who is still out there. 6 stories of love and loss, intertwined with the one day that should have been safe from such sorrow. From a faulty boiler to a teenager's recklessness, from a wife's final desperate words to a pregnant woman's unsolved murder. These cases show us the terrifying fragility of life and happiness. They are a powerful reminder to hold your loved ones close, not just on Valentine's Day, but every day. Because as these stories prove, tomorrow is never guaranteed. Thanks for watching.